Hey everyone, welcome back to the Data Pour. I'm Steve McLaughlin, Head of Data with EPON Technologies. My guest today is Paul Devitt, Senior Director of Software Engineering from Geico. Paul, thank you for coming,
Good
sir.
to see you.
All right, let's get some coffee here.
Sounds good.
Paul, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks, great to be here.
All right, well, let's jump right in. Paul, tell me a little bit about yourself and where you're at now. And then I do want to explore, you've been everywhere important in Richmond. So anyone who's watching this from our hometown, Richmond, Virginia, is going to recognize everywhere you've worked. You've been at the forefront of technology here for a long time. So I want to dig in on that a little bit.
Okay, so telling you a little bit about myself, I've been in Richmond for 27 years. I initially came to Richmond as a chemist, and I, in the late 90s, converted into being a developer for the Y2K problems. Everyone was having Y2K,
sure.
and that's how it all started. Anybody who can code,
Interesting.
we need you working on Y2K.
Huh.
So that was about 97, 98 onwards. I quickly worked for Capital One in 2001.
Right.
I also worked for Circuit City.
Yes.
I also did a stint at Snagajob and at CoStar in Richmond.
Yeah, all of the institutions.
All of the institutions. And now I'm with Geico, who are not a Richmond-based company, but are obviously a national brand that everyone's aware of. And I am the Senior Director of Claims Engineering.
Okay, gotcha.
So as we all know in insurance, there are two areas of business. One is the policy side, one is the claim side. I work on the claim side. We're the second biggest auto insurer in the country.
Right.
And we're on a big transformation right now, and it's a very enjoyable role.
Very cool. Yeah, and famously, Geico, not Richmond-based, but all of their award-winning commercials were done right here with Richmond local agencies, so pretty cool.
Yes, they were, and that's the biggest question I've had is, have you met the gecko? Everybody asks that.
It's real?
Yes, sure.
Cool. I didn't realize that. Okay, that's awesome. I mean, what a storied background. I actually want to take it all the way back to the beginning. How'd you learn programming then? And what got you interested in, hey, I'm going to go solve these Y2K problems? Did you want to jump in and solve that? Or was it more just, you have the skills and we need all the bodies?
Well, yeah. So back in the mid-'80s when I was a teenager, so don't do any math now because you'll figure out my age, I actually coded it was the Motorola 68008 chipset.
Okay.
It was assembly language mostly, and it was writing games that went onto cassette tape.
Okay.
So if you're old enough, you remember loading from cassette tape into computers.
I had a Commodore 64 with a cassette tape drive. Yep.
Same concept. I was coding, and I loved doing that in my teenage years. I actually made money out of it, so it was enjoyable. But when I went to college, for some reason, I did chemistry. But I then came back into computers after a while.
Okay, interesting. What kind of games did you make? Is there one you're most proud of?
There is. There is, but I'm not sure I can say the name of it in a. No, there was one.
Okay, that's how you made money off it. Then all the kids wanted to play that.
There were lots of ladders and levels type games. You've got to remember back then it was 256 by 192, 8 colors.
Right.
It wasn't like the greatest graphics ever, so they were just simple games.
Well, that's cool. Okay, so you went to school for chemistry, and how long did you do chemistry professionally before coming into for the first time software development professionally?
So I did a bachelor's in chemistry, but then during my PhD we did a lot of Unix programming as well. So a lot of the machines that would pick samples up and move them across, they were all Unix coded.
Right.
So we did a lot of that back in the day, and then when I got into chemistry, I probably did 12 months maximum of actually white lab coat on in a fume hood, mixing chemicals. And then beyond that, it was just, let's get in and fix a lot of these old AS400 systems. And
people still doing that.
Lots of Oracle databases that were there at the time that just needed to get them Y2K ready.
That's cool. And was there something you found appealing about that pulled you away from chemistry? I mean, you seem to be still enjoying it, I hope.
Yes. The most appealing thing was that I wasn't risking my life a lot. So in the chemical engineering days, we were having to put hazmat suits on and climb in reactors and take samples of poisonous chemicals, and I just didn't want to do that anymore. And honestly, it pays more to code.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. That's a decision a lot of folks make coming into IT.
In my mid-20s, that was a big factor. That was just switching over.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Makes sense. And Sure, certainly a lot fewer workplace accidents for developers than chemists. I would
Yeah.
wager. I don't
Yes.
have the data on that, but I would guess that. All right, so you kind of worked your way through various Richmond institutions we talked about. This is, of course, a data podcast, so I'd love to talk about, obviously software development, data, they're very much hand in hand. What really got you interested? I mean, you were doing AS400, Oracle databases. Have you had a particular interest in data applications, transformations, things like that? And tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I can definitely talk about that. So most of my career, certainly at Capital One in the early days, was a lot of relational database, a lot of Oracle databases,
Yeah.
some SQL Server. As I migrated through, started getting into some Mongo and some Cassandra, probably in 2010, 11, 12. But really, it all started when I went to snag a job. So I was leading
Right.
engineering at snag a job from 2016 to 2020.
Okay.
And when I first arrived at Snagajob, I was surprised to see it was a MongoDB-driven database.
Yeah.
The whole
Yeah, I
website
remember that.
had about 9 million unique visitors a month, just at 100 million registered users, and it was all Mongo-based.
Yeah.
And it was my first experience of that. And then we also got into Kafka streaming, so we were one of the first Confluent customers.
Yes.
In fact, I think we actually were in beta with Confluent before they actually went into paying customers.
I think I remember a meetup. That's where I first heard about Kafka, was a Snagajob meetup, I think.
Yeah, so we were, even in those days, we were streaming 100 million events a day.
Right.
Way back then. And obviously those numbers have massively increased since then for most companies.
Sure.
But it was just the complexity and the logic involved in doing that was
Yeah.
it was just, it was energizing when you work in that kind of environment.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask, is I remember at the time, Snagajob, you guys tackled a lot of really interesting architectural issues. And certainly having that volume, you guys were pretty cutting edge. Do you have any particular recollections of times you were like, oh my gosh, the team just set a new standard or figured something out that no one in the world is doing, or anything like that, where so cutting edge at the time, I recall.
It was cutting edge. I think the biggest thing for us is that for a lot of our customers, we were there was a lot of ETLs. We were sending a lot of batch
Sure.
jobs to our customers. These are the large enterprise customers, obviously not the job seekers, but to the large
Right,
enterprise
right.
customers. And just you would be sending them at the end of every day. They'd be complex to change. When we finally got into event streaming, we were sending signals all day long. We were publishing, and then obviously customers were subscribing to those data events.
Right.
We also, that's also when we brought in Snowflake as well.
Yes.
So we were a big Snowflake user back then, Snowflake has a product called Data Share.
Yep.
So we were getting to the point where we had customers who also were Snowflake customers, and we didn't even have to ETL anything to them at that point. We would
Right.
just say, here's a query data set that's yours. You can query
Right.
against it as though it's in their data set.
And data share is what evolved into their marketplace. Is that right? If I'm remembering
Yeah.
correctly? Yeah, which is a really powerful, interesting tool. That's really cool. I didn't realize it was even available back then.
I think it was about 2017, 18.
Great.
Is when it was
Yeah.
available.
That's cool. And I think similarly, Snowflake, the first I heard about it was probably through either a friend or something going on with Snagajob. So you guys were very much forefront of technology here in Richmond. It's really cool. But outside of technology, let me ask you this. If you weren't doing technology right now, what do you think you'd be doing? You think you'd still be doing chemistry or something else?
No, I have. Everybody has their passion. Everybody has things that they do. I've played in bands for 35 years.
Okay.
If I could make money out of that, I would
Yes.
do it.
Yes.
There is no money there, though.
No, I know.
So
Same. Yeah, same.
I still do it now. I still play a few gigs a year, but
Okay.
nothing too crazy.
I put college off for a year playing guitar, touring, and it was awesome. But you kind of realize there's no money here. Not unless you are really lucky or really well connected, or just so good people can't ignore you.
Yeah.
Right? But which I was neither of those. That's cool. What do you play?
Guitar.
Yeah. Okay. Still play. That's awesome.
Still playing. Played a few gigs this month already, and
That's cool.
actually last month now, April. But
Okay. That's very cool.
can't play as much as I used to. But
Yeah.
it's still a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm glad to hear that. That's super cool.
You played in band for a while.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I put college off for about.
Which band was it?
Oh, you wouldn't know it. We were called Hi-Ho Six Shooter. It was silly. This is in 2000, year 2000. We weren't big enough to where you'd know
Yeah,
us.
we did some touring. We did up and down South Carolina, North Carolina, up the coast a little bit.
Yeah,
and,
we did a lot of that. So
We used to play 50 shows a year and had a few
we were
CDs
about
out back
same.
in the
So
day.
we did too. Yeah, our client we got a 7-inch. We had a label put out a 7-inch for us, and at the end we actually got signed to a label, and they paid for our last album, and it was really cool. And even then, we were like, there's 5 of us. This is not enough. But our longest tour was 6 weeks. We went all the way through Canada, all through the north, all the way down the west coast, all the way through the country. It was awesome. Wouldn't trade it for the world, but by the end we were like, nope, we need to we need to move on here.
I should show you my backdrop in my office. I got like 15 guitars on the wall. I got better gear, better guitars than I ever had.
I know, right?
But I play like 3-4 times a year now.
I know. I'm the same way. It's funny. All right. As I mentioned, we're here today at Grit Coffee in Scott's Addition, and this is a chain of coffee shops that started back in 2008, just outside of the University of Virginia. It's right in our backyard in Charlottesville. And since then, they have grown quite a bit. There are 6 Grit Coffees in Charlottesville, 2 here in Richmond, and an additional 1 in Williamsburg. Today, I am drinking their signature espresso series, which is called the Side Hustle, which is a throwback to how this started as basically a side gig for the founders of the company. I'm drinking mine with oat milk because it's hot outside, so I wanted a nice chill beverage. Naturally, Paul, the Englishman, is drinking a tea, so appreciate that. Coming to a coffee shop, having a tea, standard.
Hey, the walking stereotype.
That's okay. Grit is owned and operated by a management company called Bread and Table. They also own the Wool Factory, which is a really cool event space in Charlottesville. They own Breadcloth, which is a fine dining restaurant also in Charlottesville. They own Selvage Brewing, which is a craft brewery. They do the Workshop, which is a wine and coffee shop, really cool. But finally, my favorite thing here is they make Snowing in Space, which is a canned nitro cold brew, which is absolutely awesome. You can find it kind of around Virginia, and it is fantastic. If I drink it too much, though, my heart nearly explodes, but it is delicious, so you should definitely try it if you're a fan of nitro coffee. So, finally, Paul, this is kind of fun. Yesterday was the 1-year anniversary of this particular coffee shop, so they are 1 year and 1 day today. So, cheers to Grit.
Cheers to that.
We can't not touch on AI. And I know, you can't talk directly about what you all are doing at Geico, but I would love to hear your thoughts on how AI is revolutionizing the insurance industry. I've read some use cases recently, and they're pretty mind-blowing, but I'd love to hear, what you guys see on the horizon, just kind of maybe broadly.
Yeah, so AI ML is a big part of what we're doing at Geico. It's one of the reasons I actually joined. Was because, you think of an insurance company, they're very data rich.
Right.
There's massive amounts of data, particularly if you think of telematics, and telematics is the device you put into cars and the OBD port that pulls all the data in.
Right.
We have massive amounts of data. In my area alone, we're using some AI right now. So there's a cool thing we do that if you're in a minor fender bender, so no injuries, no litigation involved, just a minor fender bender, you'll get out the app. It'll tell you where to take pictures around the car. So you can take pictures of the front, the side, take pictures of the VIN, take pictures of your driver's license.
Right.
And our goal right now, and we've actually got some of this in production right now, is in less than 15 minutes, you take those photographs and our AI will respond and tell you an estimate of the damage.
Wow.
And you have a choice to accept that estimate there and then.
Wow.
So we can actually not only get you a quote in 15 minutes, we're actually trying to get to the point now where we can get you an estimate in less than 15 minutes. It obviously won't work if there's injuries involved and litigation because they will take longer.
Sure. But if it's a minor thing,
if it's a minor thing,
there's probably millions of those that have happened in the past.
And we, the reason we're able to do that is, we've got so much data, so many photos from historical events. We've been able to train models, and the AI goes in there. And if you have like a dent on the front of a car, it knows that probably the radiator's damaged behind it as well. So it isn't just assessing on the surface.
Oh, gosh.
It's actually assessing behind the scenes.
That's so cool. I mean, it could take everything. The make of the car, like, oh, well, the radiator's placed here, the dent is there. Wow, that's really cool. That's a cool use case. That's much more interesting than a chat bot to summarize claims or something like that. That's really cool.
I mean, there are plenty of generative AI chat bots that are out there to help. We have 10,000 adjusters who are actually going out there and adjusting things. We have a whole bunch of customer service and salespeople. We have bots for them that'll generate, what they need. But this is truly like processing the data with the idea of giving the customer a better experience, but also on the flip side, it's actually saving us money from an operational perspective.
That's really cool. That's a great use case. Any other awesome things that you're, finger on the pulse in the industry?
So we have a lot of AI, but I'm told I can't tell you about some of it yet because it's not out there yet.
All right, well, we'll keep our eyes peeled. But man, that's a cool use case. Thanks for sharing that. All right. Obviously, talking about AI, lots of folks concerned for various reasons, naturally. Talk to me about data security and how you all think about it and how you think it's going to impact the future of AI. Obviously, we're talking GDPR, the California regulations, all of that. How is the industry maybe generally thinking about data security and privacy?
Yeah, so we're not so impacted by GDPR from a European data perspective,
Sure.
but obviously the California data rules are very important to us,
Right.
and we all know what happens in California starts happening everywhere else
Sure.
in the rest of
Yeah.
the country.
Yeah.
So we are, we're obviously looking into people have the right to be forgotten, people
Right.
have the right to view all the data, all these different rules are there. Obviously, insurance is a very data-rich environment.
Right.
So there's a lot of data going back a long period of time, and you need that from legal and regulatory perspectives. Since I've been at Geico, and I've only been there just over 4 months right now, we do a massive amount of encryption, both data at rest, data in transit. We are constantly looking at our data, we're constantly looking at access, we're constantly looking at any area we can improve.
Right.
But it's an ongoing battle. In the AI space, any of our models are self-contained. We have them, nobody has access to the models outside of the walls.
Right.
But yeah, it's a challenge. I mean, it takes up a lot of time.
Yeah, and I think it's going to continue to be front and center for people as sort of the general awareness and consciousness around AI really starts to permeate society. I mean, I often joke, like, my mom now understands data management. Like, the core reasons of data management, my mom understands, and that was not the case, even a year ago. So it's going to be interesting. This is going to be an interesting conversation, I think, nationally, globally, over the next couple years. So
Yeah. I thought you were actually going to start talking about the ethical side of data as well for AI.
definitely. Well, let's go there, because
So
absolutely.
I can't give you a great example at Geico, but I certainly can at Snag a Job. So
Yeah.
I remember in 2017 or 18, around that time frame, we started trying to build a model where I think McDonald's at the time had asked us, could we actually just place somebody at their site without a manager having to interview somebody?
Sure.
They send us the requirements and we would go in and our model would try and pick the candidates and say, here's the candidate you need.
Right.
It's hourly work. We could actually cut everything out and make it a simpler model. We did that, and we
Right.
did it quite successfully with land people, but we realized our model had a bias
Oh my gosh, wow.
because we ended up feeding it data from the prior 20 years. Snag a Job started in 2000.
Right.
So we had almost 20 years of data. We were feeding it a model, and it was feeding Caucasian candidates to
Sure.
Caucasian-based locations and other locations.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And so that's a very hard side of it to try and
Yes.
fix.
Right.
In the end, we actually had turned off the model because we couldn't find a way to
Right.
make it
Well,
less
and
biased.
that's what's so challenging with bias, right? Because machine learning, deep learning learns off of bias. It's just that there's like good bias and bad bias, right? Because there's signals in the noise that are how these things learn. But then there's also the bias that we don't want ethically.
Yeah.
And so it really is a very challenging line to walk. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's an interesting. I had not heard that. That's an interesting
I don't know of any similar examples at Geico, and CoStar didn't have any similar examples like that, but
Right.
Certainly at Snag a Job we had that. So
Yeah.
I'm sure things will get better over time,
Right. Yeah.
but it's not easy.
No, it's not, and we're going to continue to wrestle with it. And now, as the barrier to entry is so much lower now that you can do it without really a second thought. And we are going to see more issues. It's going to take a while. It's going to be a couple years. It's going to be a couple years of the Wild West, I think.
Yeah.
And we'll be along for the ride. It'll be interesting times, right? Are there any other major digital transformations you all are working on, maybe outside of AI, or has that been really the big focus, or anything else that you're like really excited about to be working on right now?
Yeah, so one of the whole reasons I went to Geico, and I've told a few people this, and hopefully my bosses take this the right way, but if you'd have asked me to go to Geico maybe a year or 2 years ago, I would have said, no, it's an old-fashioned
Sure.
insurance company.
Sure.
It's not cutting edge. But during the interview process, I met a lot of really cool people. We've hired a lot of people from Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, Google,
Okay.
Apple. We've got some high-end people brought in, and it is for a transformation. Geico is owned by Berkshire Hathaway. It's a
Right.
Warren Buffett company.
Sure.
He's investing heavily. Like, we're bringing in a lot of top talent right now.
Right.
to try and go on this transformation, both from an AI ML perspective, but also from a digital transformation, enabling the customers to do things on their own.
Sure.
To fully go in there and add vehicles to their policy, to add drivers to their policy, to go in and submit claims, to handle roadside assistance or glass breakage on the roadside. Any of those type of things. We're trying to get to the point where we meet customers where they want to be. Now, if they still want a traditional phone call, sure.
Yeah.
But in the modern
more and more
world,
people don't want that.
Yeah, more.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. My teenagers never talk to their friends on the phone.
No.
It's they will text somebody rather
Completely
than talk
foreign.
to them.
Yeah. I'll even sometimes call a friend and they'll be like, "Hello? Like, what are we doing here?" That's interesting. Well, that rolls into my next question, which was going to be, how are you all leveraging technology to enrich a customer's experience? You've already talked a lot about it. I mean, claims that can be done in 15 minutes by taking some photographs and using AI, things like, meeting the customer where they want to be met, whether it's a phone call. I'm sure those are even enhanced by technology significantly. But any other things that you're thinking about in terms of just really enriching a customer experience and their satisfaction?
Yeah, I think there are plenty of areas, and there's still more on the digital side. So it is about having data available. It's about getting, having the quotes available. It's about being able to put in the right information.
Right.
If you think of a traditional company, like, I don't know if you've ever had an insurance claim, but they can be slow and painful.
Absolutely.
And everything from scheduling an appointment to getting a rental car while your car is in the shop. All of that can be fully automated, and what we're trying to do is get the experience. So it's not really even thinking about the tech, it's thinking of the experience for the people.
Yes.
What does that experience feel like? What do they want next? They don't want to have to make one phone call to schedule the car in the shop, and then another phone call to get a rental car, another phone call to talk to their adjuster and make changes.
Traditionally, it's been horrible. I'm not going to name and shame, and it was not Geico, but my insurance not long ago, 2 years ago, I had a claim. It took me 6 months to get into a shop. I went through 4 or 5 different adjusters. It was a complete nightmare. I almost was like, I think I'm just not going to fix it. I'm just going to drive around with this damage because this is such a huge pain. So yes, anything to improve that.
Well, that was probably during the peak of COVID when
it was
parts were not
right
available.
Thereafter. That is also part of it, yes. But hey, I'm the customer. I'm upset. Nobody made it right for me, Paul, and I was upset. So cool. Well, we've talked a little bit about this, but what are your predictions for the next 24 months in tech? What are your hot takes here?
Yeah, so there's a few in here. I think obviously, you listen to companies when they're doing their earnings announcements. Everybody drops the AI line in there.
Sure, of course.
That's the buzzword now, just in the same as big data was. Remember big data?
Absolutely.
Remember all those things before that? So I think a lot more customers, even small to mid-size, will start getting access to it.
Yep.
I think there's a lot of consultants like Epon, et cetera, that are helping customers get into that space.
That's right.
It's going to be much more readily available. I think that's going to be the differentiator, though.
Right.
I think the harder bit for some of the smaller customers is having the data set to fully train these models and optimize a lot of these models. But I think I think that's where it'll be going. It'll be coming, I don't want to say down market, down into the smaller to mid-sized companies.
Yeah, that barrier to entry continues to drop.
I also think another thing that's going to happen, just in terms of general tech here, is clouds are starting to get a little more expensive. I think as people get in there, I think some companies will start looking at it and thinking in terms of, if I have fixed capacity in the cloud, why don't I bring it onto a private cloud on-prem?
Sure.
So people will start addressing that, and we'll leverage the cloud for things like, new products we're trying to get to the market real quickly to evaluate if it works. We'll use it for things like, load testing environments. Spin up a load test, run it,
spin it up,
tear
shut
it down.
Yeah.
Do those things. Obviously, everyone will still have auto scaling in the cloud, so I think those tools are going to be there.
Right. Use that as your overhead if needed, but yeah.
I think there will start being a consolidation in a lot of vendors. There's just a few spaces where there's far too many vendors, far too many texts, far too many languages, and I think we'll start getting into that. But yeah, it's exciting times. I've been in the tech space now for so long.
Right.
So the one piece of advice I always give everyone is like, you're probably in a 40-year career here. Like if you get out of college at 21, you're probably doing tech for 40 years. Whatever that tech is you learned at the beginning, it's going to be vastly different at the end.
Very different.
Unless it's COBOL mainframe, which is going to be around.
You're still getting paid well if you're doing COBOL.
Yeah. But I think it's going to be around a very, very long time, and things will change. But the basics don't change.
Right.
The basics of how you code, how products interact with each other. I still see And like in my mind, all systems are going to talk to each other by just firing JSON files between each other.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't see
They're
that
just going to
changing for a
ingest it
while.
automatically.
But also I'm old enough to remember when SOAP first came out. and
Sure.
That was
Yep.
the cool thing.
That was the cool thing. Yeah.
Not anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, but that interoperability is going to continue to be easier and easier. It's going to reduce time to market, but the fundamentals are going to be the same. Yeah. And there's a lot of legacy architecture out there, and that's going to always be a rolling decade of organizations behind. You mentioned AS400s. Lots of those still running out there because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But that's going to need complicated integrations, all that good stuff. It's not going to go away, but it's certainly going to change.
Yep.
So cool. All right. Well, you already kind of rolled in again to my next question. You're
I
like reading my
apologize
mind.
deeply.
No, I love it. And it was going to be, what's your advice for someone who's either just getting into tech or maybe making a career change and coming into the tech world? Maybe they've been so excited by AI, they're like, I'm going to stop selling flowers and get into tech. What's your advice for people just coming into this?
Yeah, so as part of this, I get to meet a lot of college hires coming in. I know in Geico this year we're hiring 500 college hires. It's just over
Wow.
500 in 1 year.
Wow, that's
we're
big.
actually hiring 1,440 engineers this year across the
Wow.
board as well.
Huge investment.
It is. That's what I talked about. It's a huge
Yeah.
investment that's going on right now.
Wow,
but
that's
it is pure engineers. So my advice would be get into a pure engineering role.
Right.
I think while there's a place in this world for project managers and
Sure.
scrum masters and manual testers, etc.,
Yeah.
I think those roles are getting smaller and smaller. Everyone's
We've
looking
seen
for,
a big contraction of that.
yeah, everyone's looking for engineers. Everyone's looking
Yeah.
for people who can code, people who can build systems. I think there's going to be a lot more automation in there. So
Sure.
what I would encourage people to do is don't worry about what the first technology is you learn when you come in.
Right.
You're probably going to learn some flavor of JavaScript in college.
Yeah.
And whether it's React, Angular, Vue, doesn't matter. You're probably going to learn some flavor of an API service, and whether that's Java, Node, whether it's C#, whether
Yep.
it's Python.
Right.
Doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And you'll learn some basic databases. You'll probably learn MySQL because every school seems to teach MySQL.
Sure. Yep.
You might not actually learn some NoSQL, but you should.
Yeah.
But whatever
you learn these patterns.
you learn the patterns.
Yeah.
The patterns don't change.
Right. And when something new comes along, you're like, okay, it takes this pattern, but it shifts in this way.
Yeah.
Combines these two ideas and concepts, and yeah.
The only real change I guess I've seen, it's monoliths have gone into a lot of domain-driven architecture,
Yeah.
a lot more smaller microservices, micro front ends, even micro data sets. But it's still just connecting those together, and the principles
Right.
are all still the same.
Yeah, I agree. Awesome.
So my advice is do it. Do computer science. If you're thinking of doing history and psychology, don't do it. Your parents will be disappointed. You have to get into computer science. You will not be living in your parents' basement,
That's right.
and you will have a nice, comfortable life.
Very true. Well, thank you for that advice. And Paul, thank you for joining me today. This has been a lot of fun. I want to say thank you again to Grit Coffee here in Scott's Edition, and specifically our barista, Paris, for treating us so nicely. Until next time, let's toast to knowledge and connection, one episode at a time. Paul, thanks again.
Thank you.